welcome to Fresh Off the Dome. It is the second DIY, the do-it-yourself episode. And on today's episode, we're going to be building a planter. Ta-da! Exciting, right? Wait, exciting, right? Yeah. I've been on this plant kick lately. I think they are really good for space to make it cozy and welcoming. I've really been into, I've been buying plants like crazy. I don't know why. I need to stop. I think I'm addicted. But I wanted a planter to hang from my ceiling, and I found out that a lot of the planters, for lack of better words, look really feminine and girly. So let me go ahead and manly it up and make something that your grandma wouldn't have in her house as well. So with that being said, let's get started. Now, the design is, we've got the base here at the top, which is, I'm going to go through the design first, and then I'll talk about the materials that we're going to do next. So, first is the design. What we got here is a base board, which is going to connect to the ceiling. We've got the pulley system and a rope attached to the planter itself that's going to be hanging down holding the plants. Pretty simple, right? So, like I said, very simple build today. Anyone can do it. Anyone can grab these parts anywhere. I'm confident. This is one of those builds where for sure you can find the parts, and for sure you can do this on your own. So, let's get started. I'm going to go through the parts right now and the idea behind it. So the first part is going to be the base, which is going to be this top part up here. The reason I want a base is because planters, you got to think once the plant gets pretty big, it is going to grow. It's going to probably weigh about 20 pounds when it's got water in it. So it's going to have to have a pretty thick bolt, something like this, to connect it to your ceiling. The problem with this is that you don't want a hole that size in your ceiling. I mean, you could do it if you connect it to a rafter, but just having this bolt coming out of your ceiling, one, it's going to make a big hole, and two, it doesn't really look cool if you just have this big metal thing just coming out of your ceiling. When you have these really nice planters, you know, it just looks weird when you have something brass and shiny and metal connected to this homey looking, your grandma made thing. So that's why I decided to make a base, to give it a little bit more of a rustic feel. That looks better than just this metal piece coming out of your ceiling. It's going to look, and I don't know why, it just gives it a little bit of a better look when it's connected to something. And you won't have to have that big hole in your ceiling. You'll just have a couple of small ones that will support the main weight. You want something sturdy though, because like I said, once the plant does get bigger, or in this case plants, it's gonna weigh a good amount, at least 20 or 30 pounds, and you don't want this plant falling out of your ceiling. With that being said, let's go through the parts. Of course, we've got the base, as I showed you. This is a random scrap piece of wood that I found. I was actually walking through my neighborhood, and someone had done some remodeling on their house. They threw it out, and so I found that. Like I said, we got the bolts to connect it to the base. We've got the planters themselves. These were actually $8 a piece that I got from Hobby Lobby. 2 different ones. I'm gonna have 2 plants just because I think it looks cooler. I get a whole more plants. And then I found this. This is a cool old pulley system that I found at a garage sale, and it's got 2 ends, so you could actually make 2 planters. I'm just gonna be making 1 today. But it looks really cool, old and rustic. I think this was actually used for hunting. They used to string up a deer and cut its throat and drain out the blood. Just kidding, I'm not really sure what this was used for. But yeah, you can find these anywhere. The thing is about these, the pulleys, for some reason, if you buy them online or antique shops, they can actually be pretty expensive. But they are pretty common. So if you go to garage sales, or I wouldn't pay more than 20 bucks. I mean, this is literally, you can find these everywhere. But for some reason or another, I don't know why, when you find them at an antique shop or a resale shop or online, if they're vintage like this, they can get pretty expensive. But I would take my time in finding one, because like I said, I've come across them all the time, and I can't believe how much people sell them for. I'm not really sure why. So, yeah, just go to garage sales and you'll be able to eventually find one if you want. So that being said, the first problem we gotta solve is that I like how cool and old this thing looks. See how rusty and nice, got a nice patina on it? Now, this is gonna be hanging from this, which is connected to the base, hanging from the ceiling. And I'm gonna hang it just like that. The problem is, see how shiny this thing is? and how bad it looks when you got this nice shiny bolt in this old vintage cool rusty looking thing. I don't want this. I want this to look more like this, so that way, and also this to make it look aged. So that's the first thing I wanted to do. I want to age this piece to make it look old, and you can do it really simply in like 5 minutes. So that's the first step. So let's start with aging this loop. Alright, so it's time to age the metal. Now, rather than sitting it outside in the rain and letting it wait there for 5 years, we're going to age it chemically in a couple of minutes. It's really easy and really simple. So you only need 3 chemicals basically. You need salt, of course, vinegar, and hydrogen peroxide. All these you can find at your local convenience store, so it's real simple, real easy, and I'll walk you through the steps. It only takes a few minutes. So, first things first, this hoop metal is coated with a clear coating that is actually designed to keep something from rusting. So we want to remove that a little bit. I mean, if you put the metal in the chemical, it will rust, but you probably want to take a little bit of that coating off, and also to make it look older. You want to give it a little bit of dings and just like some scratches. So you're going to scratch away that outer coating, but you're also going to ding it up so it has different colorings and like little, you'll see it when it's done. It will have different patinas and little scratches and marks that will make it look more aged and make it look like it's actually been worn instead of this beautiful new thing. So we're going to smash it around, rub it against the ground a little bit, and then I'm going to show you through the process of aging it. So we're going to do that now. Great. So see how we like scratched off some of that coating and now it's got little marks? It's gonna rust better and it'll look different. It'll look more aged, like you didn't actually age it on purpose now. So we're gonna go inside and chemically start doing the process. Hey, all right, so now that we've got the bolt all scratched up and ready to go, it's time to make it rusty. Like I said, grab those chemicals I said earlier. We're going to grab some salt and some vinegar and put in a bowl. How much salt and vinegar? I'm not really sure. You're supposed to measure it out. I think they said like 2 teaspoons, but it's just like enough. I don't know. And vinegar, the vinegar is the important part. You want to be able to submerge whatever it is you're trying to rust. So in this case, we got that much. So just drop it in. And right away, you'll start to see, I don't know if you can see, you'll start to see like little bubbles forming around the edges of the thing. You'll start to see a little chemical reaction go. It's like science class back in the day. So you let that sit in there for about 4 to 5 hours. Once it's done with that, you take it out and you add in the, you take out the vinegar and the salt and you add in the hydrogen peroxide. And you'll see, you should see results instantly. Now, right now, after the 5 hours, it might not look rusty at all. Once you add in the hydrogen peroxide, though, you'll see it in seconds. So it's like really cool scientific experiments. Great to do with the kids. So we're going to let that soak. We'll come back to it, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. All right. Now that the hardware is aging, in the aging process, we're going to work on the base. Now, this is reclaimed wood, so it does have a few nails. We're going to have to take those out, and then also we're going to drill the hole for this to go through. You want to drill the hole because this wood is aged. And aged wood, when it's hard and aged like this, if you drill a hole, or if you try to screw this in, you might cause this thing to crack in half, which would be terrible because it's aged and you can't find these everywhere. So I don't want to do that. I want to drill through the hole first and then be able to screw this in. I also need 2 holes, other holes, before I can screw this into the ceiling. So when it bolts up like that. So altogether, I'm going to have 3 holes. I'm going to have 1 in the middle for the planter itself, and then 2 other holes that I can connect to the ceiling like this, which is going to hold this whole thing to the ceiling. So we're going to start to prepare that now. Alright, while I was pulling out those screws, I wanted to show y'all that it actually started to do, those nails rather. As I was pulling out those nails, you see that it started to crack right here. It was it started to do exactly what I didn't want it to do when we were bolting this in, which is why we're going to drill a hole. It started to crack. I don't know if you can see that. So that's the reason we're gonna drill a hole so that doesn't do that when we put this thing in. Now, in order to find out how to drill a hole, what you do is you take your bolt and you take your drill bit and you line it up just so. And when it's behind it, you want to barely be able to see the threads. You want to be able to see the threads of the screw coming out, and not the I guess the bolt itself, the main stem of it. You just want to see the threading of the screw, which is what this one is. So that's how you find out the proper size. All you want is the threads to be able to grip the wood, and you want the stem of it to be able to go in. I don't know, the base of the screw, I guess, to be able to go in with ease. That's to prevent it from separating. So now that we do that, we're gonna drill the holes. Alright, now that it's been soaking for like 4 hours, it's time to do some chemistry. We're gonna pour out the salt and vinegar and we're gonna add some hydrogen peroxide and it's gonna rust like that. It's really cool. Fun project to do with your kids. Watch this. Cool. See how it's like kind of a little bit rusty? It's a lot less shiny than it used to be. Well, check this out. Hydrogen peroxide, instant. Check that out, it's oxidizing right before our eyes. How cool is that? Give it a few minutes. When the bubble stops, that's when it should be done. Pretty cool, right? It's transforming before our eyes. Check it out. Look how gross that water is getting. Alright, now that we got the hardware all rusted up, it's time to untangle this thing. It's pretty simple. We're just gonna hook it up, tie one end so it doesn't move, and let the pulley run down off the other side. Pretty self-explanatory, actually. It looks beautiful. Final results. Look how great and aged that looks. It's gonna go perfectly. Look at that. Looks beautiful now. Cool. Now that we got it ready, let's string it up. Cool. So that's what it's gonna look like when we bolt it to the ceiling. Just wanted to give you a little heads up. Remember those 3 holes I said we had? I put a fourth one just in case. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use it or not, but cool. Alright, so as you can see, the beautiful planter is done and complete. Now what I did is I got a bunch, like 3 different plant holders, and I put them all together so they're different sizes and shapes. I'm going to give you a close-up what it looks like. It came together really cool. So here are the planters I got. You see there's 3 of them, and they're attached to that beautiful base I made from the ceiling, along with the pulley system and the metal loop that we have. It's all bolted to the ceiling, and then we have the base coming together connected to the wall. And it looks pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about the way it came out. It turned out. I think it came out pretty nice. So that's it. I hope you go and build one yourself. It's pretty simple, pretty easy, and I'll see you on the next build.